So this is going to be a very, very hard act to follow.
There's nobody following. I'm the last.
Yeah. So the people who have been before us, they have done such a lot of great work. And there are moderators over here. By the way, I'm a stand-in moderator. I'm not the original moderator. It so happened that the actual moderator could not be around, and therefore I'm a stand-in. So I'm a substitute.
I'm sure you'll do very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am sure.
So it's almost like, one time, when you have these soldiers and they are around, and there is a major who is going to be addressing the troops, suddenly a general comes in. When the general comes in, then of course the general, everybody's got to listen to the general. So the general comes and says all these great pearls of wisdom, and then he goes away. Now the major has got to make sure that he brings the audience back, his soldiers back to listen to him. So he says, Joe, he says, soldiers, the general has made some general points. The major will make some. Thank you very much. So,
Right.
so I have a question, and I'm sure there are lots of questions for you. First question is, what does it take to win? And how do you get Lady Luck on your side?
I think that just takes time. I think you have to be persistent. You have to stay with something. If you stay with it long enough, you have a good chance. And Lady Luck, well, she's not there all the time. We had a lot of bad luck. But it's being an optimist. If you're an optimist, you can you go through the bad times and you tend to forget them. You remember the good things. And that's the luck, is being able to work on the good things, remember the good things. And try to put the bad things, some really bad things, just to one side. You can't forget them, but you've got to put them to one side and count your luck. And we had a lot of luck.
Oh, you make it sound so easy, Joe. My apologies, Joe. I'm not wearing a Reebok, so you must pardon me.
I have to. Believe me, I have to.
So just tell us. See, seated in front of us are people, many of them leaders of tomorrow in the making. What is the nature of choice making, and particularly difficult ones? I mean, there are a lot of choices that you make. Some turn out to be good, some turn out to be duds. So how do you make that choice?
Well,
Example.
I think it really is a matter of what confronts you. And I don't think it matters what choice you make, so long as you make a choice. And if it's the wrong one, you change. It's doing nothing that is the problem. Just doing nothing won't help. You have to do something. Sometimes you don't know which to choose, but okay, you can ask people, and a lot of people will never try to make something work that is not working. Just because you chose it doesn't mean to say it's right. It's only right when it works. So you can, I think today we call it pivoting. years. 4 years, 7 years, tried and tried hard. So failure is just an experience, and it's good to fail. It's good to fail because it makes you think. It's a bit like doing a business plan. And 3 months later, you look at your business plan and think, why did I think of that? Because you're nowhere near it. And this is what happens when you're making choices and when you fail. What we're doing wrong. So you learn an awful lot from failure. And yes, we failed a lot.
Outstanding. I really love the way you talk about failures as an experience and how you got to learn from that. Thank you. Aztec. Aztec is a shoe that changed talk and lives. Tell us that story.
Okay, well, I've just said I went to America in 1968, and that's the beginning of the running in America. And we were a sports footwear company. My parent company, my grandfather, in fact, they made football boots and were very successful in the 1920s. By the time my brother and myself, the business, came to see that our father and uncle were not really developing that business that my grandfather had built. So we had to leave the business, and we set up our own business, right? So now we started off as Mercury, and there's a story there. The name became Reebok, and it was Reebok. Okay, I wanted to get into America, and as I went there in 68, running was just becoming a sport that we were actually in. So we were in running, we weren't in football. Adidas had taken that in the United Kingdom, so we were in running. Luck for us, this is luck. Running started to grow in America. And all the way through the 70s, it grew, and it grew, and it grew tremendous. And there was a magazine called Runner's World. And I think the magazine grew with running, and we're also probably responsible for growth. Because Runner's World, it used to tell everybody where the next 10K, the marathons, half marathons, and it also used to give the name of the winners. So you could read. If you'd entered the race, you could read your name maybe in there if you came 100th or whatever. So everybody bought this magazine. They loved it. And everybody advertised in there. Nike, New Balance, and we did. We were across the water, and it was a little more difficult for us. But I'm going to America, trying to get into America, and Runner's World is growing. By about 1975, Bob Anderson, who published the magazine, he decided his magazine was so good, Runner's World was so important, that he could tell everybody which was the #1 shoe. Okay, it wasn't Reebok. It was Nike, as you would expect. Okay, so Phil Knight, great. There's at least 350 million Americans, 35 million were probably running at that time. And when somebody said, this is the #1 shoe, at least 3.5 million wanted to buy that shoe. Biggest problem for Phil Knight, he's importing the shoe from Asia. He couldn't get the production. By the time he managed to get the shoes coming into the country, 12 months had gone, and Runner's World, Bob Anderson in his wisdom decided we'll have another #1 shoe. I think that was New Balance. Same story. All of a sudden, demand outstripped supply. Couldn't get that. Third year, I think somebody had a word with Bob Anderson and said, look, this isn't working. So they decided instead of who's going to be #1, they would do star ratings. And so a 5-star shoe, there could be 3 or 4, and that would be it. 5 stars, then down. At that time, I knew we could make a 5-star shoe. That was our business. We were in that business. We could make a 5-star shoe. We knew what they wanted. Still a gamble, but we set about making a 5-star shoe, Aztec. And we had to submit this to Runner's World for the testing process. Quite unique, I suppose, but I'm in America to the NSGA show, the National Sporting Goods of America, in February of 1979. And the Runner's World, the shoe edition would come out in August. And now running is getting big. a lot of people want to get into this. And I'm on the stand. The government, the British government, had invited us to have a stand at the NSGA show in Chicago. And I'm there, and Walmart came, and they wanted 20,000 pairs of shoes. Fantastic. That was about 6 months' work for our small factory. So good, I thought that's brilliant. But towards the end of the show, a guy called Paul Fireman came on. He was running a business called Boston Camping, and the camping business, well, he was doing okay, but it was going nowhere. And he said, Joe, you've got a 5-star rating shoe, and I'll be your distributor. This was the 7th distributor that I was to have. So I said, okay, Paul. I said, look, we have a 5-star shoe. But he said, no, Joe, you don't. You know, the ratings don't come out until August. I said, yeah, but look, this is at stake. We're absolutely sure this is going to be a 5-star shoe. We were confident. Okay, but this is February. Everybody went home. I took another trip to America in May, and I went to see, no, it's not Walmart, it's Kmart. I went to see Kmart, and went to see the guy who wanted his 20,000 pairs. The room was about as big as this, and there was at least double the number of people in there who were all buyers. And I went to see my man, Mr. Biasati. Yes, he was interested in his 20,000 pairs, and I'm thinking, this could be difficult. This could be your first order for 20,000 pairs and your last order if we don't satisfy the financial requirements of the space, the footage. But okay, nice. I left Kmart and I went to Boston to see Paul Fireman. He had a nice, small operation. Boston Camping, great. I thought, this will be good for Reebok. We can just bolt the business on, and this will be a nice distribution. I went back home. At the end of July, the Runner's World Shoe Edition comes out in the last week of July. It used to come out in the last week of July. That's the August edition. So I phoned Paul during the last week in July. I said, Paul, please, just go down to the local kiosk and see if Runner's World is out. He came back an hour later. He said, Joe, Aztec, 5 stars. Wow. But not only that, we also had 2 other shoes. One was a spike and one was a racing shoe. Midas was racing shoe, Inca was spike, and they also got 5 stars.
Amazing.
That got us into America. After all those years, we were now wanted. People wanted our product. So we got into 3 5-star shoes, and that was in 1979.
Amazing. What a story. What a story. Thank you for sharing. How did you come upon this name called Reebok?
Well, Reebok is another story as well. As I said, I and my brother, we left the parent company and we set up as Mercury Sports Footwear in 1958. 18 months later, the accountant, he came along and said, you better register that name. And rather sort of naive, why register the name? Why? If these Mercury shoes are doing very nicely, they'll start making Mercury shoes, and if they do, you've got a problem, because if you want to own the name, you've got to register it. Okay. A patent agent in Manchester, and the agent said, okay, we'll look, which he did, and they came up with the fact already registered.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Lawson Delta was part of British Shoe Corporation, already registered, but they were not using it. They hadn't used it for a while, and he said, we'll talk to them. So he asked them for £1,000. Well, we had just set up a factory for £250. And £1,000 was out of sight. If you can't buy it off them, take them to court because they're not using it, and we can claim it. And I said, how much is that going to cost? He said, about £1,000. So that's a bit difficult. Okay, he said, if you can't buy the name, we can't do anything about that. He said, you have to change your name. He said, but don't bring me one name, bring me 10. And it was a nice day in May. We pointed to Kodak. And I said, okay, what's with Kodak? He said, well, they made it up. That's their name. They can register that. They made it up. If you can bring up a made-up name, then brilliant.
Register.
That's yours. Yeah. But he said, I need 10. And I'm thinking, 10? How do you a company? And it's a lottery, 10 names. Okay, so we go back and we sit down around the table, and I'm sure you guys have thought, let's think of a name for our company, and you go through all these different things, and we came to Cougar Sports. That's pretty good. Yeah, Cougar Sports. Falcon Sports. Well, wow, yeah, why not? 2 for the list. And where we going? Animals, birds, yes. Good idea, why not? Puma, we're already there. Okay. So let me take you back to 1943. Would you believe it? That 8 years ago. I am 8 years old. It's a bit like COVID. We couldn't go anywhere. Everything was shut down. But we did have local events. And I am entered into an 80-yard race. And I win it. I have an advantage. I am lost to spikes. Nobody else has spikes in those. Big advantage. Anyway, I won the race. And I go up to collect my prize. Great. And what do I get? I get a dictionary. I'm 8 years old. And there's not much education going on because all the teachers are at the war. And I get a dictionary. And it's a Webster's dictionary. Now, Webster's dictionary is an American dictionary. And spelling different. But I'm saying, look at football. What can I do with a dictionary? I can kick it, I know, but, a football would be better. Oh, no, it's a dictionary. So I go back, I've got my dictionary, and I go forward now to 1960. We're looking for a new name. And I like the letter R. Don't ask me. I just like it. And my dictionary sits there next to me, and I open my dictionary at R, and I see through. Very soon I come across R-E-E-B-O-K, Reebok. What's that? Well, it's a small South African gazelle. We're a running company. Gazelle. Wow. That's it. Top of the list. Top of the list. Now, had I been to an Oxford English dictionary, it would have been spelled R-E-B-O-C-K. I don't think I would have and read that one. However, this is an American dictionary. Is that luck? We talked about luck before. Yeah. Is that luck? Coincidence? What is it? However, I put this at the top of my list, and I go back to the agent, and I say, look, whatever you think of the other one, we want this. But he's a lawyer. He couldn't care less. Okay, Joe, we'll see what we can do. It took him 2 weeks to go through these names that we've given him, and he came back, called me, and said, Joe, you've got your wish. You can have Reebok. But there's a caveat with this. The registrar has said, look, if anybody makes shoes out of Reebok skin, you can't stop them. Oh. Well, Jeff and I looked at each other and said, nah, that's not going to happen. That won't happen. So we became Reebok. But the registrar in his wisdom said, we're going to have to put you in the B section of the register. 2 months ago, we didn't even know there was a register. So were we concerned with the B section? No. We were in the register. We got Reebok. 10 years later, the registrar came back and said, we've moved you. We've moved you to the section. And we said, why? Well, he said, now everybody knows that Reebok is a sports shoe, and the animal has to come second.
That's a great story. That's a great story. Okay. So Joe, one more question, some rapid fire. You see, in this world of this dog eat dog, and this world of the average Joe, um, sorry to use that expression.
Right.
But you came out not just a winner, but you were very different. So what made you different? Because you could have gone to town and tried to kill and make mayhem around, but there was a certain gentleness about the way that you did your business. So talk about that philosophy and that ethos.
Well, the problem with dog eat dog is that it can cost you a lot of money, and it can waste a lot of time. But when we thought about this. We had a lot of challenges. One of the, obviously our name was a challenge to begin with. Then 4 years into our business, we had a letter from Adidas. The lawyers said at that time our silhouette was two bars and a T-bar. It was two stripes and a T-bar. And they said that this was infringing the Adidas 3 stripes. And Jeff and I, we looked at this letter, and I think it took about 5 minutes of thinking, oh, what now? And then we said, just a minute, Adidas know we're here. Right. Adidas know we're here. Great. So we pinned that up on the wall, and we changed our silhouette to the vector that we have now. Great. We thought, that's a challenge, but, we've come up with a better silhouette. Same with our name, a better name. So challenges are good. Yeah. Light bulb moment. And wow, okay. Why don't we start making shoes for aerobics? Let's make them feel like gloves. So we'll make them out of glove leather. We'll make them just for women, on a woman's last, women's sizes. Fantastic. He'd got this idea. He's in Los Angeles. Paul Feynman, who's operating the American business, he's up in Boston. Arnold took the red eye, they call it, overnight to meet Paul Feynman. And he sits with Paul Feynman and said, Paul, fantastic, this is great. This wonderful new aerobics, it's really growing fast in Los Angeles. And Paul said, oh, just a minute, slow down. Arnold, slow down. We're a running company. Why do we want to make shoes for girls dancing? Good question. He didn't get through. Paul said, watch it, keep your eye on it, but let's take our time. This didn't work well with Arnold. He went round to the back door, and that's where our product man was, Steve Liggett. And he went he went to see Steve, and he said he made a better job with Steve Liggett. And he managed to get 200 pairs of samples of the shoe that he wanted from Steve. When he got them and got them down to Los Angeles, he gave them to the instructors, gave them to some of the leading girls down there, and it was fantastic. They all loved the shoe. They were so comfortable. They were made out of glove leather, and they fell apart. Yeah, they fell apart. But the girls loved them so much, they just went out and bought a new pair. We eventually got that right, and the leather was more like garment leather. So it was nice, it was soft, great. They started selling. Then Jane Fonda went out and bought a pair of Reeboks to use in her exercise videos. That was an absolute takeoff. We were a $9 million company at that time. Now with aerobics, in 12 months, we were a $30 million company.
Wow.
12 months later, we were a $90 million company, then a $300 million company, and then a $900 million company in just under 5 years.
Amazing. Great.
And of course, then that was it, and it was fantastic. And the biggest problem we had was, how do you manage to get the product when you're doing 300 million and you go to 900 million? How do you get the product? Because that was the biggest problem. We'd managed to get the money problem sorted. We got some nice credit lines. But the product was difficult because the factories can only make so many shoes. They can only expand the business so much. For us, and we have another stroke of luck here, Nike hit a wall. Nike all of a sudden found themselves too much inventory. The sales were going down, and they had to pull out of about 3 major footwear manufacturers in Korea, in South Korea, and just when we needed it. So that saved us again. I say that was luck, but that's how we managed to get from 300 to 900 million in revenues.
What an amazing story. What an amazing story. So I'm now coming on to my rapid fire. So rapid fire is quick one. Your role model. Your role model.
My role model.
Yes. A name.
A name?
Yes. A name of your role model. Who's your role model?
Oh, who's my role model?
Yes.
Well, my role model would be Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill. Mm.
Winston Churchill, yes. I mean, I don't know if you've read any of his books, but Winston Churchill, he was a wonderful orator, a wonderful wit, and of course, I think he gave the Commonwealth the strength during World War II. And that sort of example for me is incredible. And if ever you get to Paris, there's a wonderful statue there of Winston Churchill. It's probably the best statue that I've seen of him, and it's underneath, "We will never surrender."
Yes.
Yeah, and that for me, that epitomizes the man.
Guts and glory. If there is a Hollywood or a British actor who could play your film of life, who would you choose?
I think you better ask Julie that question because
But Joe, have a go, have a go. If there is one actor who could play your life.
Give me a few names. Who could play my life?
Okay, so this is to the audience. Who do you think?
Any suggestions?
This is a question to the audience.
Brad Pitt, maybe?
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Oh, I've met Robert De Niro, yes. That's, he came to one of our tennis, pro celebrity tennis tournaments. Robert De Niro? Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Would you agree?
I'm sure that, I'm sure he's heard of us. Well, he must have because he came to one of our tournaments.
Okay. Your favorite drink?
Well, my favorite drink at the present is Negroni.
Nice. Nice.
You know Negroni? Yes, Negroni.
Your favorite line? Line. Your quote? Yes.
I guess it's the same as Winston Churchill. We will never surrender.
We will never surrender. Amazing. This is easy. Your favorite book?
My favorite book.
Shoemaker?
Oh, well, it's got to be Shoemaker, of course, yes. I mean, outside of Shoemaker, I have a lot of books, and I like Dan Brown. I think his stories are very, very good. Beyond that, where would I go? I think it would have to be a Dan Brown book.
Dan Brown. Okay. Yeah, we are out of questions here. Questions from the audience? Here is your chance. The founder of Reebok, no less. Opportunity of a lifetime.
Hi, thank you, Joe, for your time. Nathan, you are doing a great job. In your experience of hiring, senior leaders in your organization, what are some of the qualities, attributes? What did you look for?
Oh, the question is, if you were to hire a leader, what qualities would you look for?
Qualities in a leader. I think it's somebody who listens. I think it's somebody who wants to build a team and knows how to build a team and wants to share with that team. The one thing that I wanted to avoid always when it was a question of people was ego. I didn't want people with ego. We only had one word, and that was Reebok. It wasn't even Joe Foster, it was Reebok. Everybody had to believe in the company. So the leader would have to believe in the company, the product, and would have to build a good team. So somebody who can build a good team and give them the responsibility, give them the ownership. And I think that's so important, that to have a successful business, you need a lot of people, and you need them to believe in the company and to have that ownership of the company. So yes, he needs to be able to be a good team leader.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Joe, this is Sensei Raj from Vision India 2032. You crossed the pond, you followed your heart, you broke off from the family business, and then launched your own. You set a great leadership example. When you look at the world today, what's happening, the fragmented approaches everywhere, what a good moderator said, the dog-eat-dog culture. What is your message to the youngsters, to the next generation who are raring to go and conquer the planet? Thank you.
Easy. Message to the youngsters who are here today.
Message to the youngsters.
Yes?
I think there's tremendous opportunities now. There were tremendous opportunities when I was a youngster, but the world is yours. And now we have a digital world. We have tremendous opportunities. So for me is whatever you do, whatever you want to go into, make sure that you enjoy it. Make sure you're having fun. I do get asked many times, what are the three most important things about growing a business? And in order to do that, you must have fun. Number one is have fun. And number two is to have a lot more fun. And number three is to make sure it's absolutely fun.
Great one, great one. Okay?
Hi, Joe. Hope you're doing good. So the question that I have is, after the introduction of Reebok, there was a time in the market where Nike and Adidas had the major share. So there was a downfall in the sales of Reebok because there was a time where Reebok sales were very low, and I have the first-hand experience of it. So in that case, what was going through your mind, and what were the strategies that you had in your mind to bring or get into the market again?
Do I take that? We were number one. And what's the strategy to get back?
Yes.
Yes. And I'm sorry, but my hearing doesn't pick up, it vibrates for me, and I think it's something to do with age. So I apologize for not quite picking up the questions. Okay, yes, we became number one. We overtook Adidas, we overtook Nike, and we were number one. And that was probably one of the great moments of my life, that when we became number one. Unfortunately, well, I stepped back in the end of 1989, and I think Reebok did fantastic during the 90s, but then something went wrong. And that growth, that building of the company, or scaling of the company as we call it now, it didn't continue, and eventually the company was sold to Adidas. And of course, Adidas and Reebok we really occupy now within the licenses of these new companies. So what we're going to see is a lot more Reebok. Visibility is going to give growth back to Reebok. We were a $4 billion company. We went down to about $1.5 billion. ABG expect us back up to $5 billion within 2 years, and $10 billion by 1930, by 1930, wow. By 2030. So visibility is the first thing. Plus also, the way that ABG are operating this, the licensee has a lot of power, a lot of ability to develop the brands. There's a central brand called Reebok Design Group. They just are policemen. But the individual groups now, and I think you'll see this, there'll be some tremendous footwear now, some tremendous Reebok shoes. And as I said, the first thing that is going to happen is visibility. So this is where Reebok is going, and I think it's going to be a very exciting time. I think Adidas will be a little worried now, because Adidas have just gone through a slightly difficult period, and I hope we get up there and make Nike also nervous. So I think Reebok are growing, and growing fast.
Thank you, Joe. I hope
Thank
Lady
you.
Luck is with you.
We have a couple of questions, one from the lady up here.
A very good evening, Joe. I suppose that obviously Reebok has a lot of competitors, and it will be encountering many more competitors in the coming years. So I would like you to give a quick message for all your competitors.
What message do I have for the competitors?
Yes.
Right. Well, I think that, as I said before, we look for white space, and there will be some white space. And now that we have a lot of new and young people looking after the brand, I think the competitors have got to expect Reebok now to start on that journey back to being number one. People have said, well, we're aiming to be number 3. Well, no, that's only the third step on that ladder. You've got to get to number 1. And if you've got the right culture, and we had a tremendous winning culture when I was with the company, and what I see now, we saw it this morning, Julie and I were at the Reebok headquarters, and it was fantastic. The culture is right, and the people there are right. And if you love the brand, and this is what we try and spread that, the love for the brand. And it's that ownership, it's that feeling that, oh, yes, you know, this is not a job. And as I was saying this morning, you don't come here to work. You come here to enjoy life and that fun, to have fun, and to create and to help build a brand that was number one. It's gone through a few difficult times, but is going to come back to number one. So for the opposition, for anybody out there, yeah, beware, we're coming back.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you. The Bangalore culture is great. Thank you. There's another question from there. Yes?
Hi, good evening. And Mr. Foster, you were talking about the love to the brand, the growth story. My question would be probably the one before competitors. Was it easy for you to let go of your family business? What were the reasons at that period of time that brought you to this decision? To professionalize, to further to be acquired? Was it easy, and what were your reasons?
So do I say that? What was it like giving up the company? Well, to me, I think if you have a product or a name or a brand, you've got to look after the brand. And you know, one person can only put so much into that brand. And if you want, you can stop other people coming in. You can stop other influences. For me, it was, okay, this is an opportunity for Reebok to grow. Or we'll say now scale. This is an opportunity for Reebok. That opportunity I can't miss. So owning the brand is one thing. Loving a brand is another. Wanting the brand to succeed is something different. And you can change a CEO, you can change a CFO, you can change everybody in the company. You can't change a founder. So I will always be the founder as long as I'm here.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, one last question.
Joe, I thought your message to competitors would be run. I'm back.
Nike.
Okay.
I think I've heard of them.
No. Okay. So my question is, at that point in time, there was a Runner's World magazine that changed the fortunes of Reebok. Today, perhaps you have partners like ABG outside and also ABG in India. And you don't need a Runner's World magazine because today customers themselves rate the products that they use. They are the biggest brand ambassadors, and they are the biggest, word of mouth for products is the biggest selling point. So do you think, and are you more confident with this change that has happened from 1979, the year that you went to the US, the year that I was born, so I was like, wow. But do you think that that entire change is really positive for the brand today?
What I'm getting from that is, okay, so it's been through ownership of Reebok as an independent company, then it was with Nike, with Adidas, and now it's a new system with ABG. ABG, very similar to when I operated the company. I used to put licensees on. A bit different because the retail of footwear, sports retail was different. Right now, it's in the hands of a few people with a lot of outlets. In my day, it was a lot of outlets, and each outlet you had to deal with separately. So the business is different. And the way that ABG are now running the company, we learned today that the license they have here is for 40 years. So that licensee feels that he owns the brand. And that's what is so important. And I think that the way that ABG are now operating, it is going to be better than the way Nike and Adidas, who just have one central office and everything comes out from there. Okay, there's a lot of people involved in retail, but when it comes to the thinking, to the growth of the brand, you need a lot of people. Plus, you need them all in the different cultures. And this is what I learned when I was going out there. And I did a lot of traveling in the world and a lot of putting on different distribution. And what I also learned is that a lot of Americans want everybody to be like America. And they're not. Everybody, there's so many different cultures. This is such a different culture than what we have in Europe. Such a different culture than America. But with a brand, you need to have the identity of the brand, but it needs to be part of the culture. And I think the way that ABG are doing it now, I wouldn't be surprised if the growth is absolutely fantastic, because they're working with the culture. And the culture, that's where you get the growth.
Thank you so much. Before we leave, I want to make a promise to you. I promise that as soon as I get out, I will buy myself a Reebok shoe.
Thank you very much. Please do.